welcome to my YouTube channel and my alopecia page on Facebook. I thought today I would talk a little bit about the alopecia, the diagnosis, and the start of wearing wigs. So starting from when I was a teenager, I loved my hair. If there was anything I liked about myself, if someone said to me, what do you like about yourself, it was my hair. And as a teenager, I always used to dye my hair. I'd dye it so many different colours. And I do remember looking back now, once, when I dyed my hair, I put some blonde highlights in it. And when I pulled because like you wear the caps and you pull the bits through, my sister was helping me actually, and when we pulled the cap off, I had like a sort of that size patch here on my head where it just fallen out. I was obviously devastated just from a little tiny bit on my hair because, like I say, I loved my hair. But I didn't ever then even think, oh, that's alopecia, because I hadn't ever heard really much about alopecia, so I didn't straight away think, oh, it's alopecia. I just thought, well, the blonde has obviously burnt into my head, it's made my hair fall out, no big deal, that'll grow back. And it did. Within a couple of months, sorry, I've got something in my throat. In a couple of months it grew back. Obviously I had a little tuft for a little while, but it did grow back, and then I never thought any more of it. And then I remember once going to the hairdressers. I never used to go to the hairdressers that often. I always used to cut and dye my own hair. But I remembered going. I think it was a friend. She asked if I could go because her sister was training and if she needed models. So I went, and she said to me then as she was doing my hair, oh, you've got a little, you've got like breakage on your hair, and it was like the underneath section, like under here sort of area. And again, didn't think anything of it. I just thought, well, you know, I carry my bag strap on that side, and because where I did have long hair, I did quite often used to get like a bit there, and like my bag strap would go over it, so I'd just do that and like pull it out. So I just assumed, oh, you know, it's just broken off there, that's fine, that'll grow back. So again, I never ever put it down to alopecia. There is a funny thing actually. When I was a teenager, where I used to dye my hair quite a lot, I remember my parents saying to me, if you keep dyeing your hair, that'll fall out one day. Thanks, Mum. Thanks, Dad. But yeah, I know obviously it wasn't the dye, but you talked that one up, didn't you guys? So yeah, I used to dye my hair a lot, and you know, like I say, I found patches, but I never ever thought it was alopecia. And then that was it. I never really had any signs of it, and I never had any other sort of hair loss. Until I was, I think it was when I got the alopecia. It was just before I was 30. I think I was 29, and I'd again just dyed my hair. I thought I'll go blonde, and I ended up again slightly bigger patch this time, probably about that size, like behind this sort of area, like behind my ear. And again, I put it down to, oh, you know, it's the blonde hair dye, it's made my hair fall out, it'll grow back like it always does. And I never thought any more of it until a couple of weeks down the line, I remember asking my dad actually, whether he could see in the back of my head, because I could feel like tiny little dots, and they were everywhere, like tiny little circles of hair missing. And I wasn't too worried. Obviously it wasn't nice, but I never again thought it was alopecia. I thought, well, you know, it might grow back, but it wasn't it wasn't noticeable at the time. So I let it go. I thought, oh, that'll eventually grow back. And then my hair started just getting thinner and thinner and thinner. I was finding hair everywhere, all over the carpets, plug holes, all over the sinks. Just, it was literally like, I'd had hair loss before, like, obviously after I had my son, because you do lose a certain amount of hair after pregnancy. But this was a lot worse. This was like handfuls, like clumps of hair coming out, and it was so thin. I do remember then saying to my mum, look, it's falling out. Let's go to the doctors and, you know, see if I can get something or see what the doctor says. So I made an appointment to see the doctor, and he gave me some antifungal shampoo to use. But by this point, when I saw him, because I had to wait for the appointment, it was really quite thin, and I was worried at this point because my hair, I loved my hair, and I didn't want to lose it all, obviously. I didn't have any signs of losing my eyebrows or my lashes at that point. It was literally just the hair on my head. And I remembered seeing, when I actually saw the doctor, I remember seeing behind him on his computer, alopecia. He'd obviously researched it, but he didn't say anything to me. He never said, you know, it's alopecia or it could be. He literally just said, you know, use this antifungal shampoo, see how you get on. And I said, like, you know, it's already really thin. By the next time I see you, it might all be gone. Like, what do I do? And he said, well, just come back. And that was it. He didn't seem concerned or anything. He also sent me for blood tests, but again, I had to wait 4 weeks for the blood tests, so obviously I wasn't getting any answers. It was quite frustrating. So obviously the time passed, and during that time I was more or less bald. I had like thin, really thin, scraggly hair. I almost looked like Gollum, his hairstyle, you know, like where it's really thin and you can just see like the scalp and like thin wispy bits. That's how I looked. And obviously, as you can imagine, I was devastated. I can't even put into words how upset I was. Yeah, so that was really upsetting. So I went back to the doctors, you know, and he said, have you been using the antifungal shampoo? And I was like, yeah. Obviously he could see it was a lot worse, and that's when he referred me to dermatology, which I went for my appointment. They said to me, obviously, because at the time as well, I'd also found out I was pregnant with my daughter, so they weren't able to give me anything to take to help it grow. I couldn't have the steroid injections. I couldn't have them. So yeah, it wasn't really a lot they could do. She did say to me that it was alopecia, and she asked if there was any sort of alopecia in the family, which at the time I didn't know. I have since found out that my uncle, or I knew he did have it years ago, but it didn't click at the time. But he used to have alopecia. He had no eyebrows. He had like the universalist, so he had no hair anywhere. So at the time, obviously, I didn't think. So I said no, there wasn't any sort of alopecia in the family. And she said, you know, it is alopecia. You know, I want you to come back in a few weeks. We can prescribe you a wig. And that was it. And I just remembered saying to her that, you know, I just want my hair back. I don't want a wig. Which I didn't. I didn't want wigs or anything like that. I just wanted my hair back. Which obviously it wasn't going to come back. Sorry. So anyway, after the first initial sort of me getting upset with the dermatology, she also said about joining groups online, which at the time I was angry. I said no. What good would it do if I joined a group, you know, talking to people about it, because I felt really alone, like I couldn't talk to anyone. I didn't know anyone in the area who had it as well, and I just remembered I didn't go out for ages. I wouldn't go anywhere. And then a few weeks after this, my eyebrows started falling out and my lashes. I went to bed one night and I woke up with no eyelashes. So again, I was devastated because, again, my eyelashes, I liked my eyelashes as well. And then my eyebrows went, and it was literally like looking in the mirror at a stranger. I hated it, absolutely hated it. And I thought, well, what am I going to do? And again, this is another reason why I'm doing this video, because I remember when I first lost them all, I looked on YouTube and found a few girls that were doing the makeup, the alopecia makeup, the eyebrows, the lashes. And I just remembered thinking, well, they can do it, so I'm going to have to try and see, you know, how I get on. The wig I'm wearing today is the first ever wig I bought. I remembered saying to the lady, I want something similar to my hair colour that it was. This is toasted brown colour, and it is very similar to the colour that I had, like my natural hair. I wasn't sure about, because the only sort of wigs I'd seen were like ones in movies and things, but like pantomime sort of wigs. So I never thought that, you know, I didn't know what sort of wigs they'd look like or whether they'd look real. So I said to her, could I have one with a fringe? Because obviously sometimes when you wear wigs, you can, like this one, you can tell, obviously when I push the fringe back, it's not a lace front, so you can tell that it is a wig. So obviously having the fringe just kind of made it look a little bit more natural. This wig, by the way, is Tatum in toasted brown, and that was my first wig, which I think was a good wig for a first wig. But I do remember, again, when when the dermatologist said to me, you know, we'll give you a prescription for a wig, I didn't want it. And when I first got this, I didn't wear it because I felt fake. I almost felt like, well, this isn't real and this isn't me. So it did take some getting used to wearing them. But obviously after a while it does, wig addiction is a real thing. I have heard, when I first started watching other girls with videos, and they used to say, you know, I've got a wig addiction, I've got so many wigs, and it's a real thing, because I'm the same. I love wigs now. But anyway, this was my first one. The next time I went to the dermatology, I asked if I could, no, sorry, not the dermatology, the lady that prescribed the wigs to me at Norfolk and Norwich. I asked her if I could have something a little bit longer, because like I say, when I did have hair, my hair was quite long. So I'm just going to go and get that wig, show you my second wig, and I'll be right back. So this was my second wig. This is Brandy, in the same colour again, toasted brown, and I really liked this one. Again, it was the same colour as my natural hair, but I liked the layers in this as well, because you've got like the shorter bit here, and then it kind of like tapers down, and again there you've got like the shorter bits, and then it goes longer, and it's quite